Welcome to Murfreesboro Storytellers. We're pleased to have as our guest the Honorable Shane McFarland, Mayor of the City of Murfreesboro. Mayor, welcome.
John, great to be here. It's good to virtually see you.
Good to virtually be with you. Well, let's reflect back on 2020 and then look at 2021. I guess for everyone, 2020 has been a very trying year. How has it been for the City of Murfreesboro?
I think with anything, there's been some really good opportunities, and then there's been some things that, we've had to work through this year. Naturally, the number one thing I think for years to come, when you ask someone about 2020, COVID is going to be the first thing that comes to people's minds. So that, really started inside the city in really early March, probably the second, third week of March. And as a city, we really saw, how that we needed to be able to operate almost in a virtual world. And so, thanks to City TV, we have, I think, as a city, excelled in making sure that our residents have stayed informed. We just celebrated our virtual Christmas tree lighting that the production staff put together. And, I think we've learned how to adapt. And that's really, if I had to use a word to describe 2020 for the residents, I think adapt would be that word. We've tried to find better ways to do things and, work through what's been a trying time, but also I think it's something that shows the resilience of the city of Murfreesboro that, although there have been some really hard things that we've had to deal with, that we also have been able to excel in what's been, a tough year.
Would you indicate any one thing or things that have been the major challenges during the year?
Yeah, I think the unknown, what I've learned, and I don't know if this really goes more towards a spiritual side, but, there's the biggest change that I think we've all had to learn to deal with is that, we're not in control. And there's been going through, going back into March when we had to shut the city down for a couple of weeks, that there are so many unknowns and so many things that we just didn't have control over. And, as a leader, I think what you have to do is you take the information you have at the time, you trust in the people who are giving you that information, and then you make the best decision you can. So, John, I really would say that just the uncertainty of not knowing, what's next, and that's been really the first time since I've been involved with the city that information changes, if not daily, it changes hourly, and a lot of it as a city we didn't have control over decisions that were being made at the federal level, the county level, the state level. And so we really tried to overcome and adapt, and that's probably been the toughest thing.
How has the council functioned? Has it done virtual meetings or actual attendance?
Yeah, we've had different council members who've had to do different types of meetings, but we've done a mixture of both. There were probably 3 weeks that we did, 3 or 4 weeks that we did meet completely virtually. If you would have told me that I would be conducting a council meeting as mayor in my office at my house, having a suit and tie and a pair of shorts on, virtually, I wouldn't have ever believed that, or having to tell my kids, hey, you need to keep it down, I've got a council meeting going on. So we did several of those, but really over the last 5 or 6 months, we've been able to have our council meetings in the council chambers. We've been able to social distance. We've been able to wear our masks, and so far that's been successful. It has been tough, conducting public hearings, where people want to come and speak, and having to have people wait out in the rotunda. But again, City TV has gone above and beyond on keeping people involved through social media, keeping people involved through Zoom, like what we're doing right now. And that's really some of the things that we've been able to excel.
I guess one of the real challenges has been education and how to conduct school.
Yeah, it has been. And, that's one of the things that really concerns me, going back to this year, losing director Linda Gilbert, passed away this year, and that was very unexpected. But, back this summer or back, I guess it would have been late, spring or early summer when school was canceled. Um, we had 38 different feeding sites that we ran the chow bus that, Linda helped coordinate. Because, here's the thing, John. We've got kids that are in our community that, they count on the food that they get from the Murfreesboro City Schools as their food. That the breakfast and lunch may be the only two meals they get all day.
I'm sure.
And so when all of a sudden you start taking away the opportunity that those kids have a stable environment, that was extremely concerning. And so our Murfreesboro City Schools, the administration, the school board, everyone pitched in to make sure that kids were being taken care of. And that really goes to where we are, virtually right now in distance learning, is making sure that that kids have the opportunity that they can continue their education.
Mayor, as we look at 2021, I'm sure there are many challenges there, even over and above COVID-19. What are your opportunities for this coming year?
Well, we're excited. We're excited about the upcoming year. We're really midway through our budget already. We were able to fully fund employee raises back about a month ago. As a matter of fact, the council, made the decision that looking at our safety, our emergency services, our police, our fire, our dispatchers, that looking at what's going on, nationally, we felt like now was the time that we really said we want to keep the best and the brightest in our city, in our police and fire department and our dispatchers. And so we gave 5.5% raises as opposed to the typical 3%, just because we wanted to make sure that, we want to keep the best that we can. And, I suspect that will go through the entire staff as we look at that next year. I think the opportunities we have, we've seen so many different things within our Parks and Recreation department that we're excited about. We have the new soccer fields that are getting ready to come online. We just received a $750,000 grant through Blue Cross Blue Shield to build a new playground out at Barfield Park. The council, we've got lots of different businesses that are opening up. Costco is going to be opening up in the July timeframe. We've got road projects that are going on. So, even though what's happened in 2020, the city still has to move forward. And that's really what we've been working on. So we're excited about the opportunities we think 2021 will bring. And really, John, we're, looking at some of the things that we had to deal with this past year. The city really excelled in a lot of the decisions that we had to make. And, so I think if I had to look at 2021, I don't think you can just say that you have one priority, but we're going to have a lot of time that we need to spend supporting our businesses, supporting our local small businesses. Because I think, looking what's happened this past year, we're going to have to do everything we can to make sure that we've got a climate in place to help our businesses succeed.
Talk about the budget for the city of Murfreesboro for the year. You're midway through the year financially.
Yeah, we did not know, our fiscal year starts July 1st.
Right.
So, we had no idea what to expect being right in the middle of COVID. And so we budgeted our sales tax revenue to be down 55%. And 50%, roughly 53% of our revenue as a city is from sales tax. And we budgeted that number to be down by over half because we felt like that was the conservative way to look at things that we really didn't know. Well, we got our first quarter numbers back and we were actually up almost 6% higher than we were last year on our sales tax revenue. So, that was you look at that, and that was a 60% swing on what we had budgeted. So, I think as a city, what you're going to see for us, we're almost at a $200 million budget now. We refinanced some of our our variable rate debt that we had from, a past city manager years ago, but we refinanced that debt for 0.5%. So not a percent, 0.5%. We financed $35 million. And we saved, I think the number was we saved almost $4 million to the taxpayer by doing that. So, I think the city is in great financial shape. We had to make some tough decisions several years ago, but John, at the end of the day, when you look at comparing local government, and you've been involved in state government, which means we've all indirectly been involved with the federal government, but we provide services. We pick up your trash. We make sure you've got a police department, a fire department. We make sure you've got, parks and recreation, if you want to use that. And so we truly, it's not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. We provide services. And I think our goal, not only in the budget, but for this next year is to make sure that we provide the absolute best level of service that we can to our resident.
Talking about services, let's talk about the electric department and the sale
Yeah.
of Middle Tennessee Electric.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big deal for in 2020. It's a discussion that had taken place over the last 5 or 6 years. And, John, a lot of people don't realize that, territorially, our electric department really couldn't grow, so it's just like a lot of residents in Murfreesboro, they didn't even know there is a Murfreesboro electric department because they've had Middle Tennessee Electric for years where they live. Just like a lot of people, don't have Murfreesboro Water, they have Consolidated Utility District. And so we really saw that as a way that, being able to consolidate not only saves the ratepayer, but, you drive down Compton Road and you see power lines on the right side and the left side of the road, and that's because there's 2 electric providers. Middle Tennessee's on the left side of the road, depending on if you're going down East Compton, and Murfreesboro Electric's on the right side. So, we ended up that total transaction was about $250 some odd million, and now we're going through the process that the council has made the decision that we just talked about this last week, that we're going to set that money up to where the principal investment can't ever be spent, and so you're really going to be, for the citizens of Murfreesboro, where we were getting about $3 million a year from Murfreesboro Electric, at some point when this is completely settled out, you're going to look, the resident's going to get $15 to $18 million a year that will be there in from here on out. And so, what we made the decision is that we're going to invest the principal that can't be spent, and you can only be able to spend, the income that comes off of it every year. So it's much like the Christy Houston Foundation, John. It's been here for 50, 60 years. This will be similar to that, except it'll be spent on road projects and things that we need to be able to spend, but not have to borrow money.
Wonderful. I know a lot of people have been wondering about the disposition of the funds and how they will be utilized. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Do you have any major building projects coming up? Any schools planned? Any new buildings?
We're going to have to start having that discussion. 2019 brought along the opening of Salem Elementary. Mm-hmm. And, I think what we're going to, I don't think this next year that we're really going to look at building a new school, but I think what we've learned through COVID is that, we have a great technology infrastructure already in place. But I think what we're going to have to end up doing is to see how that we can improve on that infrastructure. And, that's not cheap. We just now are getting ready to buy our second round of computers for our school system. So I think those are the things that we're going to be looking at, and I also think that we're going to be talking with the county on how that we can save money overall it doesn't make sense for us to build a $45 million school and then, half a mile away, they build a $70 million school. So how can we, in the future, whether that be the city builds a school and we help the county take some of the kids that can come in, or vice versa, the county builds a school and we help contribute on that. So I think those discussions will be moving forward in the next year.
Any major road projects planned for the new year?
Yes, John. I mean, Murfreesboro transportation, we should just have one big construction sign out there. So, we just got finished talking about our community investment plan, and 80%, 70% of that community investment plan is all roads. So you're going to see, hopefully this next year, Highway 99, the state project will finish. So that will be done. And then, you've got the initial easement, or excuse me, right-of-way acquisition is happening on Thompson Lane. So you can see the stakes out there. You're seeing all kinds of different, what we call hotspot projects that are taking place. Like there was just one of those hotspot projects finished on Robert Rose Drive and Old Fort Parkway next to the Regions Bank, adding a turning lane there. So you're going to see all of those projects continue along. You're also going to see Cherry Lane. We approved the engineering to start on Cherry Lane. And one of the things too, John, we just started talking about is, and I'm sure you've seen this, you have these neighborhood streets that are almost collector streets, much like Regency Park Drive, Alexander Boulevard. You've got Racket Club. You've got all of these streets that, we continue to have speeding issues. So we had a really big discussion that we're starting a pilot program on Alexander Boulevard to put these rubber cushion. They're almost like little speed bumps, but to try to slow down neighborhood traffic. And now with 2 16-year-old drivers, that's something that I continually harp on my kids about, is you've got to slow down in these neighborhoods with kids on bikes and people walking. So there's a big emphasis that we're going to put on that this next year.
Is that coming up real soon?
Yeah, February will be the start of the pilot program on Alexander Boulevard. And so we're going to give the residents the opportunity to see how that helps. Alexander Boulevard is about a 2-mile road that it's a 3-lane, 2.5 lane road. That's a pretty straight stretch. And we continually get comments about speeding on there. So we're going to see how that works and see if it's something that will help alleviate the issues.
That'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, I think so. And there are other communities who've been really successful in implementing those. We've never done it, but I joke that on Banner Drive and Regency Park Drive, there's a couple of dips in those roads because of drainage. They've put sort of like concrete swells. Right. And you don't have to worry about speeding in those certain sections because everyone slows down to go over those drainage ditches.
I'm familiar with some of those locations.
Yes, sir.
What about parks and recreation? Anything going on there that's new and different, expanded?
Yeah, that's one of the things I think that we've been pleasantly surprised with, making sure that our parks and recreation facilities have been open. But we've got a new playground that's going to be coming out at Barfield Park. That was a grant that we received, a $750,000 grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield to be able to help with a new park there. You've got the soccer complex that we're finishing up on our second of the turf fields out of 9 that we're going to be having come aboard. You've got the indoor facility that's going to be coming along there. You've got a new section of the Greenway that we're just open, that we're finishing up. We're working on an extension out on the Walter Hill area on our North Greenway. So you've got all of these things that we're working through. As we're talking now, it's the first year that we've ever had a drive-through Christmas light show at Cannonsburg. That's something we've never done before. So we've got all these cool things that we're just trying to our Parks and Recreation Department for the last 20 years has won the #1 Parks and Recreation Department in Tennessee. And, there's a reason why that happens. It's because that we have dedicated people who want to make sure that Murfreesboro has the best that it can offer.
Well, you have a dedicated group of employees in all your departments. How large a group of people are we talking about as far as city employees?
Yeah, you're all almost, not counting part-time employees, you're about 1,100 employees now. So it's a big group. But what's crazy is that, when you go back to 15 years ago, I mean, I think our head count's only up 200 or 300 employees over the last 15 years. So, we've learned how to do more with less, but, we've really, I want to say we had 14 police officers that we brought on this year. We had a new fire station that opened up in the Blackman area this year. So we had on 18 new firefighters. We got the deal worked out with the county on the EMS portion that we were really, really working on. So, we've got all of these dedicated employees that, Murfreesboro has really been on the forefront of being leaders in how you do things. And, that's not to say that we're perfect. Any organization that's this large, we've got things that we continually need to work on. But, the first step is realizing where you have issues that you need to improve, is making sure that you know that. And I think that's something our staff's dedicated in doing.
Of course, we have the city manager form of city government. Explain how that works for the benefit of some of our listeners.
Yeah, we have a council manager form of government, and the way that works, I like to equate it to a bank board. I'm the chairman of the board, and then we have 6 council members who are on the board, and then the city manager is the president of the bank, for example. And the board, there's only 3 people who directly answer to the city council. That's the city manager, the city attorney, and the city judge. The city recorder also answers, but that's Miss Wright who calls the roll. But really, we're not involved in day-to-day hiring, and we're not involved in the day-to-day operations of the city. That's what we hire and we charge the city manager and the department heads to do. Now, there's a positive and there's a negative with that. As mayor, I end up having the discussions with maybe department heads and the city manager on, they technically, the department heads don't work for the mayor or the council. So, we have to have discussions about how we would like to see things, but ultimately that's the city manager's job in making sure that, those department heads function. But I also say the positive is, John, it keeps politics out of who gets hired. It keeps politics out of day-to-day operational decisions. And, I think anytime that you keep politics out of decisions that need to be made on the day-to-day level, that's probably a good thing.
And of course, you have your own construction company, your own business that you operate in addition to serving as a mayor.
Yeah, the mayor, I was pretty naive 6 or 7 years ago because I really thought, how hard could this job be, it being a part-time position. But it's a lot harder than, managing both things. It's a tough job because, you spend a lot of time as mayor. It's like anything. I mean, I think any time that you want to be successful and you want to make sure that your organization or the people that you're surrounded with are successful, you don't want to ever feel like that there's something you should be doing or that you need to be doing and you're not doing it. And that's tough as a part-time mayor because, I typically, like, I'm in my I call it my real job, my construction office, but, I typically, my day-to-day routine, I probably spend, a lot of time on making sure that from a city standpoint that I'm not missing something. And, at some point, I think I get asked a lot, do you think the mayor should be a full-time position? And, I'm the first mayor in a long time that's not been retired. and it's hard. I mean, that's why I have all the bags under my eyes and my hairline's receding. It is hard, and I think that'll be a discussion the council has to have at some point. But it's hard. It's hard to say that the city's not been successful under the current form of government that we have, and it's one of those things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Good point. We're very blessed with the form of government we have and the way it's operated.
Absolutely.
You have any dreams, Mayor? Anything you'd like to see happen in Murfreesboro that is not taking place, or any improvements, differences?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I had to say what is my, no, we all have, as elected officials or leaders, there are things that you wish that you had, you would have already accomplished, and I feel like I've let down to some extent. I really feel like I failed by not getting this park on the west side of town underway. But you have to, you try to weigh the best decisions you possibly can with the money that you have, and so I really want to see us proceed to get a park built on the west side of town for those residents that are out there. So I mean, that's a dream I really would like to see. And then the other thing is, I think we've set the city up in a position that 15, 20 years from now, the mayor or the council, it won't be me 15 years from now being the mayor, but I really think that we've set the city up to where, they're going to look like we talked about the MED proceeds, and they're going to look at all these things that the council over the last 10 years have had to make these tough decisions. And I think they're going to be, looking, going, man, I'm so thankful that the council back in 2018, 19, 20 made these decisions, because it set us up for success. So, with that, I think that as we talked about providing services, we have to make sure that we stay on top of our infrastructure. We have to make sure that, our public safety, our education, and our transportation are our priorities, and making sure that we keep those moving along.
As we get down to the conclusion of our program, Mayor, let me ask you a personal question. Tell everybody a little bit more about yourself. You're a graduate of MTSU, and I believe a former president of student body.
Yeah, I moved here in 1992. I'm from Monteagle, Tennessee. So my twin brother and I moved here to go to MTSU. So I've been here 28 years. And when I moved here, the population was under 40,000 people, and now we're closer to 160,000 people. But went to MTSU, and like many people who went to MTSU, I loved Murfreesboro. I loved what it had to offer, and so I stayed here. And I met my wife here in Murfreesboro. Ashley and I have been married going on almost 22 years. We have 3 kids. So we have twin boys, Luke and Eli, who are 16. And I was talking about this the other night, that Luke and Eli are 16, and then my little one, Drew, is 8 years old.
Oh boy.
And, yeah, and they've never known anything but their dad being involved in the city of Murfreesboro. I mean, I was on the planning commission when both the boys were born. So they really, by the time that they were old enough, they were 2 years old when I was elected to city council. So they just don't remember anything but the city of their dad being involved with the city of Murfreesboro, and so they love this city. But
that's great. That's great.
Pretty cool.
Mayor, we thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the good job you do as the mayor of the city of Murfreesboro, Mayor Shane McFarland.
Thank you.